Alrighty, so this is Just We the People News. Alright, this video is without prejudice and or without recourse. Okay, I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to give legal advice. Okay, why? Because I'm not an attorney. Alright, I'm just going to give my opinions and use certain things for learning materials. Okay, to broaden your minds. Why do we need to broaden? Why do we need to extend our minds? Right? Sometimes we need to be arm length. But therefore, is to be out on the outside looking in and seeing what the consequences may or may not happen. That fork in the road, which direction to go. Alright? Never look just straight forward. Always look around you to be able to protect yourself by any means necessary, people. Read. Definition. My mom told me MU. What's MU? Misunderstood words. Okay? So we're using words every day that we fully don't understand because we do not read the definitions and use the words in a correct capacity. Okay? And that's going to bring us to this video itself. Remember, y'all, I always keep telling you they're using trickery of words, right? But also remember this. Anytime somebody asks you to sign something, it's always a benefit to them. Unless there is a meeting of the minds of the contract and agreement is on the same playing field. Okay? For example, I know someone that was in court and the judge ordered him to sign documents. To this day, he hasn't signed it. And the courts are trying to proceed forward, but they can't because there has not been a consent, a volunteer, or any of that, right? Because, why? Because it benefited the courts. He's seen no benefits out of this court for himself. So why would he sign something that did not benefit him or her, by the way? Okay? So they may be a catch-all, but there we go again. What corporation, what government has authority to tell another man what he can and cannot do? Of course, within reason. They better not be a victim. You better not cause harm to another man or woman. That is the catch right there. Alrighty, let's proceed forward this on a trickery of words, okay?
Hey there, friends. By now, everybody's seen the document that
legally armed, by the way,
really hard to expose, where the FBI was intentionally trying to get people tricked into signing it in order to give up their Second Amendment rights. It was one of those things where it was like we're not going to tell you that you don't have to sign it.
All right, so he's got several things marked out here, but we keep on avoiding the most common thing, right? I understand. Okay? So he don't have that yellow, but the I understand part is you're still agreeing to their terms. Every time you say I understand, you're agreeing to what they have said. Alright? Just saying, I'm bringing that up to your attention right now. This is the reason why a lot of times you just don't really agree to understand them, right? You have a right to make sign anything you say or do can and will be against you in court of law. Do you understand? No. I do not.
But we're going to act like you do. Look at it this way. This is one of those things where if you did something silly, or maybe not even so silly or stupid, but 1, 2, 3 FBI guys show up at your door And of course, you're already, in some cases, people just immediately get intimidated by that authoritarian figure that they see. And of course, they have that, that goes through their own training, that they have to always act like they're in control. And really, there's key things they can say and do, how they act, the tone of their voice, their body language. There's all kinds of signals that they put off that try to show them and assert that they are the ones in charge, which in turn is meant to intimidate the person they're talking to. So when they put a piece of paper in front of your face and say something like, well, this is a document that we have just to kind of go over a lot of the stuff that we talked about, and this is where you sign it and all that. There's nowhere on the document that says you don't have to sign it. In fact, they use words on here that make you feel like you have to sign it, like it is an official document. And we'll get into just a few key points here in a second. My point, and the biggest problem I have, is not just the fact that it is an absolute continuation of the overreach that we continue to see with these folks, but this is an unofficial document. All documents within the federal government are supposed to be logged. They're searchable documents. There are not supposed to be any secret documents. Like there's not any. No, I'm not that naive. There's people all the time, oh, I can't believe how naive you are. Save it, sugar. The FBI intentionally put this document out and in order to not have it be official, which means it probably didn't have to be officially approved from up top, which plausible deniability now applies to this document because the folks at the top can say I didn't know anything about this. And they may not have known anything about this. However, by it not being official, we can't search by it. Gun Owners of America worked really hard in order to make this see the light of day. Some of the key things, and again, I wasn't going to do a video on this, but after reading it so many times, I'm starting to highlight things, and I'm like, I'm going to highlight the whole freaking page. I want to go over some things on here that really bother me. The title alone is scary enough. Self-submission form. Yeah, that's what I'm looking to do. The very next line is one of those intimidation factors. Again, you don't have to sign this, but by their wording makes you feel like you have to sign this if you're presented with this. You must sign this form in the presence of a license.
All right, we're going to go with that just for a second. Sorry, y'all. The key element. That right there. That right there. Okay? It's basically there, but it's not there. It makes it kind of invisible. Alright? Don't take my word for it, all. Do your own research. Okay?
Physician or a licensed mental health professional. So just the words "you must sign" is going to make most people think, oh, I got to sign this. It goes on to say, I, Paul Glasgow, voluntarily request permanent entry into the NICS indices. So I'm voluntarily telling them you can have this. Now, the problem is with this not being an official document, how and does it ever get thrown out? Because if not, they can always say, well, Paul voluntarily signed this. It says right there, the word voluntarily is in there. So even though this might not have been an official document with an official number on it, he still says that he voluntarily signed this, so can't we continue to use this? It goes on to say, I understand that completion and submission of this form will result in denial of my right to purchase, to possess, and to use any firearm. In addition...
Okay, we're going to stop there again. Remember, the government's one of their favorite words. Understand. You're agreeing to their terms, people. Always. Always. Remember, any documents they are telling you to sign benefits them, not you. Unless there's a meeting of the minds and there's a mutual agreement of the contract with full knowledge of it. But demanding you to sign something really is actually illegal and unconstitutional if you really just sit and think about it without the force, right? They can use scary words and basically, even though it says volunteering right there, you signed on there by tacit agreeing to their terms. because you didn't really understand what they were talking about. You stayed inside of acquiescence.
And I understand that once I am in the NICS indices, I may not be permitted to withdraw my name or information from the NICS indices. Why would anybody ever sign this?
Agree.
I mean, I understand you're being bullied, and I understand there may be things that they're telling you, like, you know, this is best for your family, do what's best for your family, trying to bully you. But when you see that type of wording, and look, I'm going to read further down, just right here where it says, I authorize disclosure of my mental health records to the FBI. No.
Again, trickery of words, right? And the threat with them carrying guns in a little cubicle with you in there does intimidate you, right? People wanting to get out of jail. The reason why they bond out is to get out right away and not spend 6 months, a year in jail. That way the courts can take their sweet time of convincing you to waive your rights. For instance, and I'll just plain out say it, my daughter had a ticket. She asked me for my advice. And I said, well, just do not waive your rights, any whatsoever, okay? If it says you're going to waive any rights, do not do it. Alright? Just go in there, understand as a woman, and suffer the consequences and the way the cards may lay down. But do not waive your rights. So, this went on Zoom, so she read Zoom. She understood what I said. Okay? And at the very bottom on Zoom, it says, well, before you enter this Zoom for court, you're going to waive your rights. I was like, I'd never been on Zoom with the courts, so I didn't even know that was on the bottom, but she told me about it. I said, well, then you call them up right away and says, you're going to have to miss the court date because you're not waiving your rights. She decided to talk to her attorney, and the attorney says, no, go ahead and enter the Zoom and go to court. So the attorney told her to waive her rights. Yeah, okay, y'all. This is how much you need to really love attorneys. They really want you to waive your rights. Okay? And this attorney wasn't even her attorney. She just asked questions, maybe to get him or whatever, right? But he said, no, just go ahead and sign up for it, get on Zoom, or they're going to issue a warrant or this, that, here, and there. For me, I would take the warrant. I wasn't going to waive my rights. Buddy.
Oh, don't ever do that. This is the kind of document right here that you wonder, the people who have signed it, have they been prevented from buying firearms, possessing firearms? Possessing firearms. This doesn't just keep you from buying a firearm. You cannot have one in your possession if you have signed their little fake document. So how many people have this on file? Where are they filed? I know that in GOA's requests that they unearth tons of things. They show a bunch of the different people, the different types of scenarios where they actually have disclosed who has signed this. I think the names have been redacted, but under what circumstances they actually signed them. So there is a record of this. And not a ton of people have signed this, by the way. It's not, we don't have, that we know of, there's not hundreds of thousands of people that have signed this. But the bottom line is, who signed it? Under what conditions did they sign this? And were they bullied and coerced into doing this? Most likely they were. Why else would you show up with a document like this if you weren't trying or intending to have that person sign this? This is not a document that you go, well,
It's also very important. When they say, are you denying? Always bring up, no, I'm not denying. I'm not assisting in your criminal activities or assisting in your violations. Okay? Fight fire with fire, right? Well, then you're refusing. Nope, I'm not assisting. Oh, that's a refusal. No, that's not assisting. Look up the words, y'all.
You have a little old document that if you want to take a look at it, you can, but you don't have to sign it. Guarantee you that's not how that conversation took place. I have a real problem with this, guys. more on this to come. I will be keeping my ear close to the ground to see what else GO8 unearths on this. But I can promise you this needs to see the light of day. This does not need to be something that everybody goes, oh, well, that was interesting, and then move on to something else. This is absolutely insane that a document like this exists in the condition that it exists in, with the wording that it exists in. This is like third world dictatorship type stuff that we should never, ever have one of our own citizens put in front of this and looked at and felt like they had.
All right. So I'm going to just go ahead and pause it there. All right. We need to quit consenting. We need to quit volunteering. Remember, each and every single document, especially from government, is in fact benefiting them. You get on Facebook. You benefited Facebook. You didn't benefit yourself. You're getting a little rewards out of it, but you benefited Facebook. You benefit YouTube. I'm getting a little something out of YouTube, but YouTube gets more out of it than I do. I'm just saying, y'all, we need to really step back a little bit and realize what in the world are we doing, because every 10 minutes people are signing something, right? I mean, every day through the day you're signing something, you're consenting, you're volunteering, and anything from the government is damn sure not benefiting you. It's always for the courts, attorney, or cops. Always. Always. If there is such a case, then maybe you ought to let me know which case actually benefits you and not benefiting the government at all. Okay? I had a friend said he wanted a ticket of a stop sign. Okay? And he said, well, I'm just going to fight it because I did not run the stop sign. Well, I said, okay, go ahead and fight it. All right. He walked in there and kept his record clean and all that. Walked out of there and tickled to death that he won and all that. However, he still had to spend money for a class to keep everything off his record. And then he said he won. Buddy, it still benefit part of the government, okay? Now, the government may contract to this other guy for this class and give them a little kickback, which you're paying for, but the courts will say, well, we'll just give this order and you have to take this class, which basically is a kickback. But you absolutely lost. But you got a little benefit out there. Your insurance is not going to get up. But it still benefited the government more because in all actuality, you lost. And the record and that judge looks good. This will be the People News, y'all. Oh, by the way, look up legal words, legal definition of individual. Okay? I'm not an individual. I'm just a man. No more, no less. Alright? Never agree to certain words, especially if you do not know the definition of the words. Till next time. Bye, y'all.